There's something a bit strange about me that tends to raise eyebrows every time someone learns it. I sleep every night on the floor in my house. Yeah, you heard that right. I mean, not directly on the floor. Mind you, my bedroom has carpet and I have like a really thin futon mattress that I sleep on every night. And I'm not saying this to be quirky or different, but because this simple habit has given me some surprising insights about life, routines, and the power of questioning the norms we often take for granted. You see, it all started about 9 years ago when I was moving from the basement of my house to the second floor. The bunk beds I had been sleeping on in the basement were going back to the original owner, and honestly, I didn't have the time, the money, or the energy to buy a new bed. So, what did I do? I slept on the floor in my new bedroom for a few nights, and it was fine. I had, blankets and a comforter and a pillow, and I was pretty good to go. I mean, at first, there was some uncomfortableness, but as the days went by, I actually began to enjoy it. Eventually, I got a yoga mat to sleep on and added a few pillows here and there. And over time, I realized that I was sleeping better than I had in a very long time. And honestly, I found it comforting. I felt safer, more grounded, and for whatever reason, the cooler temperature on the floor worked better for me. My cat, even, Murdoch, he loved it because he could join me on the floor every night. He had a blast. But over the years, this habit got me thinking, why do we do certain things? Why do we have to sleep in a bed? Why do we live by so many routines that we don't even question? It's funny, most people, when they come into my room, ask this question almost immediately. Where's the bed? When I moved, people were almost shocked when I explained that I didn't have a traditional bed. They thought I was joking, but to me, it was just normal. Here's the interesting part. This experience has caused me to start questioning a lot of things. Not just how I sleep, but all kinds of things. Why do we do what we do? Why do we accept the routines and the norms that society sets for us without ever questioning if there might be a better or just different way? Now, I'm not talking about trying to turn everything upside down for the sake of being different, but about the power of questioning the status quo, of asking why, and seeing what happens when you do. You see, I learned that this question, why do we do this, is powerful. It's not about challenging every single rule just for the fun of it, but about understanding why we do things and whether or not they still make sense in our current lives. Let me tell you a quick story. A long time ago at work, one of my managers pulled me aside and said something that surprised me. She said, "You're always challenging everything I say." At first I thought, I'm not challenging you. I may ask a lot of questions, but I'm just trying to understand. I explained to her that when I ask questions, it's not about being combative. It's because I want to understand the reason behind what we're doing. If I understand the why behind something, I can explain it to others. And I want to know not just what we're doing, but why we're doing it. That moment stuck with me. Asking why doesn't always mean challenging authority, but rather getting to the core of why things are the way they are. And realizing that asking why can apply to so many areas of our lives. So here's the deal. Some people are scared of asking why because they fear what might happen if they open up that Pandora's box. If you start questioning things, you might not be able to close it again. You might discover that some things you've always accepted as normal are actually outdated or even harmful. And let's be honest, ignorance can sometimes be bliss. Sometimes it's easier not to question anything, to just go along with the flow. But I believe some of us are wired to ask these tough questions. We're built to challenge the norms, to ask why we do what we do, and to wonder if there might be a better way. I'm not saying that you should upend your life or make drastic changes every time something doesn't sit right with you. But there is value in asking questions, not for the sake of change, but to understand and improve. Take something as simple as the way I sleep. You might be thinking, that's so strange. Why would you sleep on the floor? But for me, it works. It's comfortable, it makes me feel grounded, and I sleep well. I've realized that just because society tells us to buy a fancy bed with a frame and sheets and a mattress doesn't mean that it's the only way to live. What works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another. And sometimes the best things happen when you realize you don't have to do things the way everyone else does them. You can create your own routine, your own rhythms. So I challenge you today to think about your own life. What routines have you just accepted because that's the way they've always been? Maybe it's how you work, how you live, or even where you sleep. Are there things you do just because everyone else does them, or have you ever stopped and asked, why do I do this? Does it still work for me? And could I do this differently? Here's the cool part. Sometimes when you ask why, you might realize there's a very good reason why things are the way they are. And you'll feel even more convicted to keep doing things the way you're doing them. But sometimes you'll realize that something doesn't quite fit anymore. And that's okay too. It's okay to do things differently if it works for you. So I encourage you with this. Ask the question why. Not in a way that challenges or disrupts everything, but in a way that helps you understand why things are done the way they are. And who knows? Maybe you just find a simple change, like sleeping on the floor or questioning why we do things the way we do, and it could lead to an entirely new way of living. Sometimes all it takes is one question to shake things up, make a change, and discover something new about yourself. And at the end of the day, if it works for you, that's really all that matters. After all, the best changes in life often start with a simple question. Why?